Okay, let's start recording DNA and the evolution of the species. This is topic F. Outline, two main sections, elements of biology, and then history and evolution of the species. In the elements of biology, we'll see DNA, RNA, proteins, cells and organelles inside. The history and evolution of the species will go over change over Earth history, evolution of the species, genetics, the tree of life, spread of humans out of Africa, then cell division, both the mitosis and the meiosis, then evolution, natural selection, and future of genetics. So, elements of biology. We said biology is the science of life. Cells contain the nucleus, which contains organelles. We will see a picture of that. The human genome has been mapped out some 20 years ago. I think it was last year of President Clinton's mandate in the office. Chromosomes are located, it's 2000, are located in cell nucleus. There are 23 pairs of chromosomes containing 23,000 genes and some 3 billion base pairs. The order of the nucleotides in DNA controls the order of the amino acids in protein synthesis. Proteins perform most of the biological functions essential for life. Let's skip this one and look at RNA. This is a chemical formula for the sugar ring in DNA. This is for DNA, this is RNA. The only difference is here there's H, here there's an OH. DNA codes and transmits genetic information. It's composed of nucleotides. It controls synthesis of proteins. RNA plays an intermediate role in the synthesis as well, as we will see. Here are the components of the DNA. There's the phospholipid. There's the phosphate groups. Then there's the sugar base, the 5 amine, and the amine bases A, C, T, G. In RNA, note that T is replaced by U. Phosphate groups, the amine base, the 5-member sugar, and amine bases. Okay. So DNA molecule is here, is folded into a double helix, as we will see next slide. The amine bases are stacked and hydrogen bonded. So this is one of the nucleotides. For example, there's a phosphate group, the 5-member sugar, and the amine base. All right. Okay. Let's skip this one and show the double helix here. It's about 3.4 nanometer or 34 angstrom pitch, and the bases are stacked and hydrogen bonded to each other. G to C and A to T, and so on. It goes on. All right. So we said that proteins perform most cell functions. They're formed of peptides. Peptides are formed of amino acids. A peptide sequence of 2 amino acids here we show. There they are. And there are 20 amino acids, 20 different amino acids. DNA nucleotide sequence determines the amino acid sequence. For example, the nucleotide sequence AAG, remember ACTG, AAG codes for lysine, one of the amino acids. Right. This is showing the structure of one protein, ribonuclease, which is a globular protein. So there is a primary structure, which is the amino acid sequence, as we said. The secondary structure is the folding conformation. Can have beta sheet, we can have alpha helix, or we can have random coil. The tertiary structure involves interaction between the R groups, the active groups. Domain of 50 to 350 amino acids forms a protein to fulfill a function. There's the quaternary structure is made of 2 or more chains. Let's skip this one, polysaccharides. Let's skip this one as well. And then here we're showing a cell. Is a membrane. And then inside the cell is a cytoplasm, which contains the nucleus. Inside the nucleus are chromosomes, contains the chromosomes, and there is the ribosome, is also a site of protein synthesis. There's also mitochondria, which contain another form of DNA. This is not the same DNA as in the nucleus, the chromosomes, but mitochondria have a DNA which is transmitted from the mother only, while DNA here from the mother and father. And there's the endoplasmic reticulum, the ER, and a lot of other things, the Golgi complex. These enter in the protein synthesis as well. Okay, so history and evolution of the species, change over Earth's history. Remember that planet Earth is some 4.6 billion years old, and life is split into 3 kingdoms. There are the bacteria, we call them prokaryotes, where there are no membranes around the nucleus. They do not have a nuclear membrane. And prokaryotes evolved into eukaryotes, like animals and plants. Humans are eukaryotes. Eukaryotes have a nuclear membrane and developed genetic material and so on. There were many glaciation periods occurred, like some 2.3 billion years ago and some 600 million years ago. Glaciation periods ended when huge amounts of toxic gases like sulfuric acid and carbon dioxide, along with water vapor trapped deep inside the magma, were emitted by volcanoes. So glaciation period is followed by a warming period due to carbon dioxide emitted by volcanoes. Water condensation formed oceans. The atmosphere got warmer and ice melted. Okay, so we said that cyanobacteria in the oceans absorbed carbon dioxide and water and produced oxygen and carbohydrates, essential for life a couple of billion years ago. Now we have oxygen, we have carbohydrates. Okay? Cyanobacteria is essential for the appearance of life. It took 1.5 billion years for life to hold in oceans first in single cell form and then in complex form. Life form became complex when the number of genes increased. Sexual reproduction accelerated evolution. Animals expanded tremendously during the Cambrian explosion. Some 400 million years ago, creatures left the sea to live on land. The vertebrates dominated till 250 million years ago. The age of the reptiles and birds, including the dinosaur, followed till 65 million years ago, when the dinosaurs got extinct. The age of the mammals then followed till now. Humans appeared over the last 1 million years. We said that species evolved over Earth's history. They adapted to their environment. Only a small fraction of species survived. Environmental factors include the distribution of continents and their drift over time. For example, the west coast of Africa and the east coast of South America look alike, which means they belong to the same continent way back. Also, fossil records are found in rock layers on both sides, showing again that they belong to the same continent. Dating methods include radio dating. There is evidence of extinction and evolution of species. Two major extinctions, one some 250 million years ago and 165 million years ago. We're living through a third major, actually it's a fifth major extinctions caused by the burning of fossil fuels. So genetics, each species has its own genetic code that codes for the various traits. The chromosomes contain the genetic code. There are 23 pairs of chromosomes that contain the human genome. DNA contained in the mitochondrion, as we mentioned, is different. It's transmitted from the mother only. Evolution is based on genetic mutations, we'll explain, and natural selection. Genetic mutations and natural selection. Evolution changes the traits which confer advantage and disadvantage. Here we're showing branches of the tree of life. So branches in evolution tree, covering hundreds of millions of years. Humans descended from the chimps, which descended from the primates. The Cambrian explosion was some 600 million years ago. There was a supercontinent called Pangaea, which began to break apart some 130 million years ago. So we have age of the vertebrates, 500 to 250 million years ago, age of the reptiles and birds, including dinosaurs, up to 250 million years ago, and then up to 65 million years ago, and then age of the mammals, the last 65 million years. Here we're showing a white layer, rock layer, that is rich in iridium at a depth of 256 million years, many locations around the world. Iridium is found in meteorites. So this is between the Cretaceous and the Tertiary periods. This is related to the extinction of the dinosaurs. A meteorite impact occurred some 65 million years ago, created a giant cloud that enveloped Earth, caused vegetation to die out, which caused the extinction of the 70% of the reptiles and birds, including dinosaurs. So humans started out in Africa and then spread out. Some 5 million years ago, a type of ape began to walk upright. Some 2.5 million years ago, Homo habilis appeared. Humans made it out of Africa some 600,000 years ago and spread. Homo sapiens emerged some 100,000 years ago. So the Neanderthals got extinct a few thousand years ago. So we can see that humans made it to the Americas around 14,000 years ago through the Bering Strait. Okay. By the way, this map is the Smithsonian Museum of Natural History. So, prehistoric humans, there are many ages, including the Paleolithic age, ended some 10,000 years ago. There's a Stone Age as well. So, Mesolithic, then Neolithic ages, where advanced tools, bronze tools, and weapons were used. There are many early civilizations that developed, well documented in history, and there's the Iron Age, followed the Bronze Age. Okay? Stone Age, Bronze Age, Iron Age. All other early civilizations that we're familiar with. So this is a classification of the three kingdoms. There's the bacteria, there's the prokaryote, and eukaryote. There's cyanobacteria here, and then animals, and so on. We said that talking about chromosomes, we said that DNA codes for synthesis of proteins, and proteins drive most biological functions. A gene is a complete set of instructions to synthesize a protein. We said that the human genome contains some 23,000 genes for a total of 3 billion base pairs. Remember ACTG? Contained in the chromosomes. We said DNA and RNA are formed of nucleotides. And we said eukaryotes, like humans or animals, are formed mostly of somatic cells. They also contain germ cells, which are for reproduction, like the sperm for males and the eggs for females. Somatic cells divide through the mitosis, cell division, while the germ cells divide through meiosis. There are 23 chromosomes obtained from the father, 23 from the mother. Okay, there they are. There are 23 pairs of chromosomes. 22 pairs are called homologous chromosomes, and the 23rd is a sex chromosome. We said that females have 2 X's, 2 long ones, 2 X's, while males have an X and a Y. So this is a male. Okay? This is the mitosis cell division for somatic cells. In other words, most of our cells. You start with a cell, which divide into 2 cells. It's just copying. So there's replication which takes place before the mitosis. There you go. And then replication makes 2 identical copies. DNA split. One of the strands becomes a template for the formation of mRNA, messenger RNA. So the synthesis proceeds like this. There's a translation step in the synthesis in the ribosome. So where messenger RNA leaves the nucleus and locks onto the ribosome, actually inside the outside of the ER, endoplasmic reticulum. Okay, so we said ribosome is the site for protein synthesis, right? Okay, so there's the RNA here. A, C, T, G. Okay? And then U for RNA. U replaces the T. So we said there is messenger RNA, which gives us the RNA, the translation. And there's transfer RNA, which grabs amino acids and adds it to the peptide sequence. There you go. Peptide grows to form a protein. This is a peptide forms to grow a protein. Okay, so we said the other form of cell division for reproductive cells, so for germ cells, so it's a multi-step process. So the chromosomes duplicate and exchange genetic information. So you see here doubling, but exchange of genetic information from one chromosome to the other. Okay, right. We said replication, translation, transcription. DNA is copied during replication. Replication is copying of DNA to itself. DNA is split into RNA during transcription. So replication, transcription, and then amino acids are added to synthesize the peptide during translation, replication, transcription, and translation. We said enzymes are specialized proteins, like one enzyme called helicase unzips the DNA. Another one called polymerase performs the peptide growth, and so on. DNA is highly packed. It's about 1 meter long, packed into a micron-sized cell. It has to be unwound and unzipped and so on at the synthesis, protein synthesis step before it's replicated for synthesis. Enzymes help cut the DNA like scissors during replication. So, yeah, anyway, so during the cell division, chromosomes form from the melted genetic material. Okay, and then mutations and natural selection. We said the natural selection and adaptation of the environment. So those are factors in evolution. So there's macroevolution and microevolution. Macroevolution from one species to another over a long time, and microevolution within one species. There's mutation, random changes in the genetic code during replication. These are copying errors. When you copy 23,000 base pairs, there are errors that enter, and there that forms the mutations. For example, the flu is caused by either a virus or bacteria. Bacterial flu is cured with antibiotics. But superbugs developed that resist treatments. It's a problem. It's evolution. Evidence of evolution, genetic similarity. Here we're showing the front limb of a human, of a cat, of the whale, and of a bat. So there is evidence of evolution found in fossil records. Humans share close to 100% of their genes with other humans. So one can conclude that there are no genetic races. Humans share 98% of their genes with apes, 92% with the mouse, and 18% with plants. The human genome was mapped out some 20 years ago. Let's skip this one. So let's talk about Darwin and the theory of evolution. Darwin was a British scientist in the 19th century. He joined a scientific expedition in the Galapagos Islands, where he observed some birds like finches and turtles that lived in isolation for a long time. He concluded that species evolved over from common ancestors, subject to natural selection. Darwin's evolution is gradual, but intermediate species have not been found. So, theory of evolution got modified from gradual to punctuated evolution. That's the modern theory. Later on, modern genetics showed that genetic mutations are errors during DNA replication. They drive the change. So theory of evolution is genetic mutations plus environmental selection. Some species survive, most of them die out. Okay, so the future of genetics. We said that genes determine traits. Many genes have been identified. We said that genetic mutations cause disorders like illnesses. For example, the mutation associated with sickle cell anemia has been identified, a mutation of GAG into GTG, so the amino acid A into T. The stem cells from embryos specialize to produce all other cells in all organs. Stem cell therapy consists in injecting stem cells into an ill organ to generate healthy cells. And it's going on right now, using stem cells to produce organs. Efforts in growing organ tissue in the lab using stem cells are underway. Gene editing The method is called CRISPR, has started and holds great hopes. Okay, yeah, here talking about food production and human diet. So humans evolved from the apes by developing larger brains and upright posture. Meat formed the main staple for humans. They were hunter-gatherers. Modern humans are trapped in Stone Age bodies while eating a modern diet. So this causes new diseases like high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, and many forms of cancer and so on. Advances in agricultural practices and better health care have driven the world population to over 7 billion people. It will become 9 billion by 2050. How are they going to be fed? With depleted resources and no room to grow. That's the future of humanity. Anyway, add to this the global warming and pollution issues and so on. Anyway, food for thought.